possible pest activity near spice equipment. On paper, it sounds perfectly ordinary. An annoyed customer, a routine service ticket. Back home, a pest problem means mice in a drywall partition or beetles in a pantry. On Arrakis, pest activity means the ground itself is standing up and moving toward you at highway speeds. You are not a Fremen warrior or a prophesied duke. You're an exterminator. You walked off the shuttle with a clipboard, a tiny plastic chemical sprayer, and a collapsible lawning cone to face down an apex predator the size of a city block. The real danger here is the corporate strategy that sent you. Management looks at a continent-spanning, unstoppable force of nature and genuinely believes they can mitigate it with standard environmental services. Surviving your shift introduces a concept called moisture discipline. The company provides a still suit to reclaim your sweat and breath, which turns natural human cooling into an HR violation. Drink from your tube, and a supervisor glares at you like you're embezzling from the company pension. Then there is the actual work. A foreman reports small biting activity on a metal beam. You kneel down with a tiny sample brush to inspect a single tooth mark that is larger than your entire torso, pretending you don't know exactly what took a bite out of the steel. This illustrates the company's primary defense strategy, a thumper. It's a mechanical stake that pounds the sand rhythmically. The corporate doctrine calls this controlled attraction. You place it, it sends out a steady pulse of concentric waves, and a massive underground worm vectors straight toward the sound. During orientation, a manager proudly demonstrates this process. The machine beats the sand, the distant horizon rises and closes in at an alarming speed. Right as the manager announces the unit is operating within expected parameters, a maw made of teeth erupts and swallows the device, the Dune, and your faith in the curriculum. These manuals are written by off-world optimists from the safety of distant moons. Following the company's official survival procedures provides a sense of professional order that the desert routinely ignores, leading directly to a technician being digested by the landscape. If this planet only had heat, drought, and giant worms, humans would leave. But Arrakis produces spice, the most valuable substance in the known universe. That money alters basic survival instincts. When a crew vanishes, the boardroom focuses on asset replacement schedules before family notification. Noble clients arrive in pristine desert wear, demanding the worm problem be handled discreetly. They treat a vital part of the planet's ecology like raccoons in an attic, literally asking if poison is available, completely oblivious to how the ecosystem functions. Look at these two waveforms. On the left is the predictable, rhythmic spike of an off-worlder walking or a machine operating. This is a dinner bell. On the right are broken spikes, the Fremen technique. Their steps are randomized, completely lacking regular rhythm. The company calls this vibration management. The locals call it staying alive. When the inevitable happens, the paperwork blooms. A crew is lost because management delayed an evacuation to extract more spice. But the worker absence report has no checkbox for corporate greed. So you check wildlife interaction. The form accepts it, and the official record blames the local fauna for acting exactly as expected. The Empire's administration is a second desert. It offers no protection to the people in the field.
It simply buries accountability under layers of forms, while the actual killing continues uninterrupted. You'd think the standard tools might at least work on the smaller tests. They don't. Try treating a worker barracks for burrow bugs with an ultrasonic repeller, and the clicking in the walls just multiplies. Within an hour, 3 grown spice workers are sprinting outside in their undershirts, abandoning their own beds to the insects. Scale up to the multi-billion-dollar spice harvester, and the problem remains identical. Is massive, noisy machines parked directly on the sand to sift the spice. To a hungry sandworm, industry is just a giant buffet on wheels. Every harvester is covered in expired maintenance stickers. The onboard worm alarms are famously twitchy, screaming at empty sand and staying silent when the ground actually starts to rise. Yet operations forces them to keep running, demanding production targets over basic mechanical safety. This map highlights a military consultant's proposed solution: aggressive worm suppression. They want to ring the extraction zones with explosive lines and sonic barriers to forcefully keep the predators away. The worms are the primary engine of the planet's ecology. Their biological cycle is what creates the spice in the first place. Attempting to exterminate the apex predator would stop the production of the very substance the Empire is here to steal, effectively bankrupting the noble houses demanding the solution. The breaking point comes near dusk. A maintenance worker at a half-buried secondary rig accidentally activates a thumper. The rhythmic knock echoes across the dunes, instantly transforming the expensive machinery into lethal bait. To survive, you have to run, but you have to run without rhythm. You fight every natural panic instinct, stumbling, dragging, pausing, forcing yourself to break pattern while the sand begins to fold just over your shoulder. The workers who reach the rocks live. The manager, however, tries to go back for his briefcase. He has to be physically tackled by his own crew to prevent him from throwing his life away for administrative documents. Surviving Arrakis requires a complete, immediate rejection of off-world priorities. In a system obsessed with profit and protocol, blatant insubordination is your only reliable safety measure. Every harvester and bootstep is an intrusion into an ecosystem that already has a master. Off-worlders treat the desert as a hostile worksite, but the planet is simply responding to the disturbance of its own territory. Your final service call takes you to an outpost where a noble representative is furious about a vibration anomaly pausing his harvest. Even as the scanner shows a massive, fast-moving mass closing in, he demands certainty, and more importantly, he demands the equipment be saved. Certainty finally arrives. A mouth bigger than human ambition erupts from the desert floor, swallowing the machinery whole. The noble is finally forced into silence by a creature that erases the idea that humans are in charge here. The workers evacuate. The equipment is utterly destroyed. Your invoice is disputed. Your final report recommends shifting toward Fremen protocols and local knowledge, but management rejects the file as being impractical for the current production cycle. You leave Arrakis, and a week later, the next technician steps off a shuttle. He has a clipboard, a tiny chemical sprayer, and the exact same confident expression you once had. The sand moves, and the cycle of human hubris begins all over again.